New cars aren't the safe asset they used to be. Some 2023 and 2024 models aren't just losing value. They're turning into financial nightmares. If you bought one, you could be underwater on your loan right now, owing thousands more than the car is actually worth. We're talking jaw-dropping losses, 50%, 60%, even 80% in just a year. Today, we're breaking down 15 cars that could be barely worth anything by 2026. Strap in, because it only gets worse from here. Ford took America's best-selling pickup, electrified it, and then watched the whole thing fall apart in real time. On paper, the idea sounded brilliant. In reality, the market delivered a very different verdict. In less than 2 years, the F-150 Lightning has lost 47% of its original price, dropping from $74,558 to the low $40,000. That's roughly $35,000 gone, not because the truck wore out, but because buyers simply stopped wanting it. And once you look at real-world usage, it's not hard to see why. Cold weather absolutely destroys the Lightning's range. One owner reported starting the morning with 149 miles of estimated range at just 37 degrees. After driving 64 miles without towing anything, the truck showed only 37 miles left. That means 112 miles of range vanished while driving just 64 miles. For a pickup truck, that's not a small inconvenience. That's a deal breaker. It gets worse when you actually try to use it like a truck. Hook up a modest 3,700-pound load, drive 32 miles, and you burn through 90 miles of range. That's nearly 3 times worse efficiency compared to driving without a trailer. At that point, you're not planning a workday. You're planning your next charging stop. Traditional truck buyers didn't ask for this. They wanted the same proven F-150 durability they've relied on for decades. What they got instead was range anxiety attached to a trailer hitch. Jeep's ultra-luxury SUV was supposed to go head-to-head with the Cadillac Escalade. And at over $103,000, it definitely showed up with the price tag. The problem? The value didn't show up with it. With a 48% value collapse, owners have watched nearly $50,000 disappear. Not over a decade. Not over hard use. Just gone. The Grand Wagoneer has officially become a financial sinkhole. A big part of the problem is Stellantis itself. The company has been in freefall. Massive recalls, quality issues, and reliability nightmares across the lineup. That kind of damage doesn't stay isolated. It destroys brand trust, and the Grand Wagoneer got caught in the undertow. Then there's the identity crisis. Let's be honest, who exactly is buying a $100,000-plus Jeep? Escalade buyers want Cadillac prestige and presence. Mercedes GLS buyers want German engineering and luxury credibility. The Grand Wagoneer tries to split the difference, and ends up appealing to almost no one. And here's the real killer: the dealers. Stellantis dealers were desperate to move these things. We're talking $15,000 to $20,000 off MSRP on brand-new Grand Wagoneers. When brand-new models are being fire-sold like that, used values don't stand a chance. Once the discounts started, resale was already dead. The market got the message loud and clear. If even the dealers don't believe in it, why should buyers? Genesis launched its first dedicated EV with optimism. The market responded with indifference. The GV60 has now lost 49% of its value, collapsing from $63,738. That's $31,000 erased, not by age or mileage, but by lost confidence. This electric crossover isn't just struggling, it's plagued by severe quality failures. One long-term owner documented 10 major system failures over 3 years. Not a single one has been permanently fixed. In cold weather, the driver's display can randomly shut off, leaving you without a speedometer. Let that sink in. Genesis issued recalls across nearly their entire lineup for this exact safety defect, except the GV60. And then there's the truly terrifying part: phantom emergency braking. The car can suddenly slam on the brakes in the middle of an intersection during a turn, completely disabling itself while cross-traffic is approaching. That's not a glitch. That's a real-world safety hazard. The tech failures don't stop there. The phone as key feature rarely works. Power outlets fail. One owner spent nearly 100 days driving loaner vehicles over 2 years, while dealerships repeatedly responded with the same line, "No issues found." That's when the market checks out. Luxury buyers don't want excuses, they don't want beta testing, and they definitely don't want to argue with service advisors while their $60,000 EV sits in the shop again. The GV60 is a perfect example of how beautiful engineering means nothing without reliability. In the luxury EV space, perception is everything. And once safety and trust are questioned, resale values don't slowly decline. They collapse. Back in July 2023, the head of Tesla bragged that demand for the Cybertruck was so far off the hook, you can't even see the hook. Fast forward less than 2 years, and the Cybertruck has turned into a textbook disaster. It has already lost around 50% of its value in under 2 years. Yes, over 1 million people put their names on the reservation list. It's supposed to be Tesla's greatest product ever, wrapped in a revolutionary stainless steel design. What buyers actually got looked to many like it was sketched by a third grader with a ruler and a ballpoint pen. That sharp, blocky design didn't just stand out. It actively alienated the people who actually buy trucks in America. Contractors, ranchers, tradespeople, and anyone who needs a pickup as a working tool, not a conversation piece. Traditional truck buyers didn't see innovation. They saw something that didn't belong on a job site. Early on, speculators rushed in. Late 2023 saw Cybertrucks flipping for huge profits, feeding the illusion that this thing was bulletproof. But that phase didn't last. Within months, those same trucks were losing tens of thousands of dollars as reality set in. Tesla then did what Tesla always does: ramp production aggressively. Too aggressively. The result was months' worth of inventory sitting around that nobody was rushing to buy. Scarcity vanished. The hype evaporated. Quality issues showed up almost immediately. Panels rusted. Parts failed. Owners documented problems faster than Tesla could downplay them. And once Tesla started offering rebates on brand-new Cybertrucks, that was the final nail in the coffin. The used market didn't just soften, it collapsed. The Cybertruck didn't fail because it lacked attention. It failed because attention isn't the same as trust. In the American truck market, you can't survive on hype alone. And once buyers realized this wasn't a work truck, but a rolling experiment, the resale value had nowhere to go but down. Toyota's first serious attempt at an EV in the US was supposed to be a safe bet. Instead, it became a warning label. The BZ4X has already lost around 50% of its value, dropping from $42,713 to over $21,000 erased in record time. That kind of depreciation doesn't happen by accident. It happens when trust collapses. And the collapse started on day one. The BZ4X launch wasn't just messy, it was catastrophic. Toyota issued a full recall on every single vehicle because the wheels could literally detach while driving. Not loosen, not vibrate, detach. In plain English, the wheels could fall off. That's not a first-year hiccup. That's the kind of failure that permanently rewires buyer psychology. In the American market, safety-critical launch defects don't fade with time. They stick. A car that debuts with a wheel falling off problem carries that reputation forever, especially on the used market. Once that damage was done, the rest of the car had no room for error. Unfortunately, it delivered plenty. Charging performance is stuck in the past. While Hyundai and Kia are pushing 350 kWh fast charging, the BZ4X tops out at 100 to 150 kWh, numbers that already feel outdated. In the EV world, charging speed isn't a luxury feature, it's survival. Slow charging immediately signals old tech, even if the car is brand new. What makes this especially damaging is the brand behind it. Toyota's entire reputation in America is built on the idea that their cars don't do this. You buy a Toyota so you don't have surprises. The BZ4X flipped that script completely. And once that happens, resale value has nowhere to hide. Dodge took an Alfa Romeo Tonale, swapped the grille, slapped on a Dodge badge, and called it American muscle. And American buyers saw through it almost instantly. The market response was brutal. The Dodge Hornet has hemorrhaged 51% of its value, falling from $38,871 in under 2 years. That's roughly $20,000 erased for early buyers, not because the car aged poorly, but because the story behind it collapsed. Dodge's brand equity in the US is built on something very specific: attitude, sound, and unapologetic excess. V8s, straight lines, vehicles that don't need to explain themselves. The Hornet delivers none of that. Underneath, it is unmistakably an Alfa Romeo Tonale. European platform, European tuning, European electrical architecture. Changing a grille doesn't rewrite DNA, and in 2024, American buyers are far too informed to pretend otherwise. To Dodge loyalists, this wasn't innovation. It felt like deception. Calling the Hornet American muscle created expectations it had no chance of meeting. This is a compact urban crossover, not a performance icon. It doesn't sound aggressive. It doesn't feel raw. It doesn't connect emotionally to Charger, Challenger, or Durango buyers in any meaningful way. At the same time, it fails to attract new buyers. Shoppers looking for a practical, reliable crossover aren't cross-shopping Dodge. They're buying proven Honda and Toyota alternatives that don't come with brand identity confusion or reliability anxiety. The Hornet ended up stuck in the middle, appealing to almost no one. The market vote is visible in dealership lots. Stellantis ended up with 323 days' worth of Hornet inventory sitting unsold. That's nearly a full year of cars nobody wanted. To move them, dealers had no choice but to slash prices, stack incentives, and sell well below MSRP. Once new cars are discounted that deeply, used values don't stand a chance. Resale collapsed not because the Hornet is old, but because the market no longer believes in it. BMW's flagship electric SUV launched, with a price tag hovering around $90,000 to over $105,000, depending on trim. This was supposed to be the pinnacle of German electric engineering. Instead, it turned into a $50,000-plus lesson in why even a prestigious badge can't protect you from brutal EV depreciation. Let's start with the styling. The iX is divisive, and that's being polite. Those massive kidney grills don't look bold or timeless. They look like angry beaver teeth glued onto a six-figure SUV. Love it or hate it, resale markets hate polarizing design. And resale is where this story really falls apart. Inside, the iX is undeniably luxurious, but it's also overcomplicated. Touch-sensitive surfaces replace simple buttons, turning basic tasks into mini frustration exercises. It's impressive at first, annoying by month 6, exactly what used car buyers don't want to inherit. BMW, eager not to miss the EV gold rush, flooded dealerships with inventory. Because the iX is imported and doesn't qualify for the federal EV tax credit, BMW leaned hard into aggressive lease deals to move metal. We're talking $1,000 down and around $700 a month on a vehicle that originally stickered near $100,000. That strategy worked, temporarily. Now those leases are ending. Thousands of nearly identical 2-year-old BMW iXs are dumping back onto a market that simply doesn't want them. Supply exploded. Demand didn't. Prices collapsed. To be fair, the BMW iX is considered a capable EV. It's quiet, smooth, and technically solid. It's just not $105,000 capable, and the resale market has made that brutally clear. Audi pitched the RS e-tron GT as an electric supercar with the best of both worlds. Porsche Taycan performance wrapped in Audi luxury, all for a cool $168,295. On paper, it sounded like a bargain in the ultra-luxury EV space. In reality, it turned into one of the most brutal depreciation stories we've seen in years. Fast forward to today, and the numbers are quite ugly. A 53% free fall in value. Cars that stickered near $170,000 now trading around $79,000. That's an $89,000 loss. Let that sink in for a second. You could literally buy a brand new BMW M3 competition with the money that vanished, and the M3 would still be worth something a few years from now. And here's the uncomfortable truth Audi buyers quickly discovered. The RS e-tron GT is, at its core, a Porsche Taycan Turbo S in a different suit. Same underlying platform. Similar technology. Comparable straight-line performance. But the market doesn't care about engineering spreadsheets, it cares about desire. and desire overwhelmingly favors Porsche. The RS e-tron GT ends up stuck in no man's land. It's not more luxurious than a Porsche, it's not more exciting, and it's certainly not a better financial decision. Once that perception sets in, resale values don't just slip, they collapse. The situation gets worse when you zoom out. Audi's broader EV strategy in the US has been, frankly, messy. The e-tron SUV failed to live up to expectations. The Q4 e-tron underperformed. Incentives piled up. Inventory sat. Buyers started to question whether Audi really knew where it was going with EVs. And uncertainty is poison for resale value. The Alfa Romeo Giulia is one of the great contradictions of the modern car market. It drives beautifully, and it brakes beautifully often. That combination has resulted in a brutal reality check. Roughly 54% depreciation from its original MSRP of $51,390. In plain English, more than half the car's value disappears not because it's old, abused, or unpopular to drive, but because people don't trust it. And trust is everything in the American market. Spend 5 minutes behind the wheel of a Giulia, and you'll understand why journalists fell in love with it. The steering is quick and alive. The chassis feels balanced and eager. It dances down a back road in a way that reminds you why people still care about sedans. Compared to a BMW 3 Series, it feels lighter, sharper, more emotional. Unfortunately, emotion doesn't pay repair bills. Giulia owners don't talk about weekend drives nearly as much as they talk about service appointments. In fact, a running joke in owner forums is that they've had more dealership visits than oil changes. Electronic throttle failures, engine computers randomly bricking themselves. Limp mode activates out of nowhere, cutting power when you least expect it. Dash lights turning on like they're playing roulette. None of these issues are rare enough to dismiss as isolated cases. The stories pile up, and once those stories exist, the market listens. Nissan pitched the Ariya as its electric redemption story. A clean-sheet EV meant to remind America that Nissan wasn't just early to EVs with the Leaf, it was still relevant. Instead, the Ariya delivered a brutal reality check. A 54% value collapse from its original $50,381 price tag. Roughly $27,000 erased in a single year. The timing could not have been worse. The Ariya launched right as the EV market in the US shifted hard. Tariff pressure hit imported EVs. Emissions rules loosened. Automakers suddenly weren't forced to push EVs at any cost anymore. And many quietly stopped trying. EV demand softened overnight, incentives dried up, and marginal products were the first to get cut loose. The Ariya was one of them. Sales stalled almost immediately. Inventory piled up. And Nissan did what struggling automakers always do when the spreadsheet turns red. They panicked. Prices on 2025. Ariya models were slashed aggressively, wiping out 2024 buyer equity overnight. Anyone who bought early watched their new EV become outdated and overpriced in real time. That move permanently branded the Ariya as a discount car. Once that happens, resale is already dead. It just doesn't know it yet. The market reaction was swift and brutal. Real-world listings tell the story better than any press release. Ariyas that sold new for around $48,500 are now sitting unsold at $22,300 after just 1 year. That's not normal depreciation. That trust is evaporating. The Ariya didn't fail because it was a terrible vehicle. It failed because it arrived late, priced itself like a contender, sold like an afterthought, and was abandoned the moment things got uncomfortable. When an automaker signals it doesn't believe in its own product, the market responds with ruthless efficiency. Jaguar's would-be Tesla killer aged about as gracefully as expired milk. The I-Pace has lost 58% of its value, plunging from $73,150 to a resale reality that wipes out over $43,000. And the depreciation didn't happen quietly. Jaguar officially announced the I-Pace's discontinuation as it pivots toward an ultra-luxury EV-only future. Translation for owners: you're holding an orphan. The I-Pace maxes out at 100 kWh charging. Modern EVs routinely hit 250 kW or more. What takes competitors 20 minutes at a fast charger turns into a 45-minute coffee break in the I-Pace. In America, where road trips and time matter, slow charging isn't a quirk, it's a deal-breaker. That's the cruel irony. The I-Pace was a pioneer. It helped invent the luxury electric SUV segment before most brands even took EVs seriously. But EVs evolve faster than brand nostalgia can protect them. Once charging tech fell behind and Jaguar walked away, the market didn't hesitate. Mercedes pitched the EQS SUV as the electric S-Class, aiming to translate the flagship prestige of their gas-powered sedan into the EV era. Instead, it became the electric embarrassment of the luxury market, shedding 61% of its value from a starting price of $108,650. In other words, buyers lost roughly $66,000 in just 2 years. Financial obliteration that goes far beyond ordinary depreciation. Critics quickly dubbed it the driving egg, and for good reason. Its ultra-aerodynamic rounded design alienates traditional S-Class buyers who expect road presence and instant prestige. At over $110,000, the expectation was unmistakable: premium materials, a commanding interior, and the seamless sophistication S-Class buyers are used to. What they actually got were cheap-feeling plastics, cramped third-row seating, and technology interfaces so convoluted they frustrated more than they impressed. Hidden ownership costs only make matters worse. The EQS SUV's massive curb weight, over 5,600 lbs, eats through tires at an alarming rate. Owners report replacing 21-inch wheels every 15,000 to 20,000 miles, costing $1,200 to $1,500 per set. That alone terrifies the used car market. Combine this with uncertainty over battery longevity and potential repair costs, and the EQS SUV suddenly looks more like a financial risk than a flagship EV. The Levante is a masterclass in rapid value destruction. Originally priced between $92,000 and $130,000, it can lose up to 70% of its value in just a few years, leaving financed buyers underwater almost immediately, sometimes watching as much as $91,000 evaporate before they even finish the first payment cycle. Ownership costs pile on relentlessly. Insurance averages $6,000 per year. Fuel for a modest 15,000 miles hits twice $500 annually. Oil changes run $500, and brake jobs can reach $3,000. Maserati's reliability ratings are consistently dead last, adding serious psychological weight to the already high financial burden. The 2024 Levante marks the final model year. Maserati pulled the line entirely, turning these SUVs into orphaned vehicles. When a manufacturer discontinues a model, resale markets react ruthlessly. Historical data over 5 years shows Levantes losing roughly 74% of their value, with the bulk of the damage occurring in the first 2 years. A brutal reality for anyone counting on traditional luxury SUV depreciation patterns. Ironically, the Levante carries Ferrari-derived engines, offering performance and sound that should inspire loyalty. Yet, its resale numbers are more akin to economy cars than exotic SUVs. The combination of sky-high ownership costs, dismal reliability, and discontinuation creates a perfect storm, making the Levante one of the most financially punishing luxury SUVs in the U.S. The Mirai is the ultimate cautionary tale of a hydrogen passenger car's failure in America. Once priced around $64,190, these sedans have collapsed in value by a staggering 77%, with used models now listing for as little as $7,000 to $10,000. Some dealers even offered trade-ins as low as $1,000, while others refused Mirai trade-ins entirely. For a brand synonymous with reliability, this is a shocking reversal, America's most worthless car despite Toyota's reputation. The collapse isn't about the car itself, it's about infrastructure, or more accurately, the lack of it. Shell permanently closed its hydrogen stations in California in February 2024, wiping out a significant portion of the Mirai's only refueling network. At the same time, hydrogen prices skyrocketed from $13 per kilogram in 2022 to $36 in 2024. A full tank now costs roughly $180, making hydrogen roughly 3 times more expensive per mile than gasoline. Owners faced absurd realities, driving 22 miles just to refuel, spending 2 to 3 hours in the process, and dealing with malfunctioning stations. Frozen pumps locked onto vehicles for hours, and hydrogen supplies ran dry for days. The frustration was so extreme that class action lawsuits were filed, alleging Toyota misrepresented hydrogen infrastructure availability. The Mirai's downfall illustrates a harsh truth. Cutting-edge technology alone cannot create value if the ecosystem doesn't exist. Toyota's hydrogen hero became a stranded experiment, leaving owners trapped with a car that could not be used, could not be resold, and, in the harsh reality of the American market, had no future. It's a textbook example of innovation arriving too early for the real world. This is the EV disaster no one saw coming, or perhaps everyone should have. The Fisker Ocean claims the crown for catastrophic depreciation, shedding a staggering 80% of its value in less than 2 years. Models that once cost $41,137 to $63,937 now trade for just $8,000 to $12,000. That's not just a loss, it's a financial gut punch for anyone who trusted the hype. The real problem wasn't mechanical. When Fisker Inc. filed for bankruptcy in June 2024, the Ocean instantly became a digital brick. Today's modern vehicles are software-defined machines. They rely on cloud servers for over-the-air updates, critical system maintenance, and even basic features. Without Fisker keeping those servers online, the Ocean's high-tech features turned into liabilities. Key fobs began failing to unlock cars. Advanced driver assistance systems stopped working entirely. The signature rotating central screen froze randomly or went dark, leaving owners staring at a useless slab of plastic and glass. A car designed to feel futuristic and sophisticated suddenly became a paperweight on wheels. In short, the Fisker Ocean went from promising EV darling to digital disaster, teaching every buyer the hard truth. If the software dies, so does the car's value. The takeaway is clear. A new car isn't always a safe investment. High-tech EVs and vehicles from weaker brands can destroy your finances faster than you expect. Hype doesn't equal long-term value. What really matters are reliability, market demand, and the future of the manufacturer, more than flashy tech or bold promises. So, which one shocked you the most? And would you ever buy any of these at today's prices? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Lastly, everything in this video comes from public sources, manuals, and trusted automotive research. It's for educational purposes only, not to promote or criticize any brand. Always double-check, follow your manufacturer's guidelines, and make decisions that suit your vehicle. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.